and welcome into this edition of Cronkite Sports Live alongside Scotty, Gange. I'm Gaul. And Scotty, I have to ask you, it's our first time at the CSL anchor desk. How you feeling, man?
Alex, I'm feeling great. I'm excited to talk some Arizona State athletics, and let's get into it.
All right, so some of the ASU athletic teams doing very well right now, but we'll start with one that's not doing so hot. The struggles of Arizona State baseball this season are widely documented. While the team sits at 6-6 in the Pac-12 conference this season, they are a season low 5 games under 500 overall. The Devils lost 2 straight to the USC Trojans last weekend, even after winning the Friday night clash to begin the series. For more on what's going down at Phoenix Muni, we bring in WCSN baseball reporter Jose Liriano. And Jose, thanks for stopping by.
Always a pleasure, Alex.
So Jose, this team has not had a shortage of offense this season. Gage Canning, Spencer Torkelson have been providing the brute of that. But they haven't really been consistent anywhere else on the mound and in the defensive areas as well. What do you think this team needs to do to become more consistent?
They just have to be more mentally tough. I mean, when you look at this team, they have talent in the bats, in the mound, and in the diamond. It's just they're not 100% mentally in it all the time, especially that infield filled with freshmen. They can't get it done. They have 44 errors in 33 games. That's just something that they're going to need to fix.
Okay, so we talk about what players need to step up this season for the Sun Devils. Gage Canning, Spencer Torkelson definitely have. But there have to be a player that you think needs to step up over the course of the remaining games this season.
Honestly, all players need to step up. I mean, they have to play like a team. But when it comes to pitching, Alec March has been wonderful, and he needs to keep playing as well as he's doing, especially subbing in for Boyd Van der Kooi, who's been hurt for most of the season now. And he's been pitching phenomenal, 2.50 ERA. He got the only win in that USC series. He needs to keep pitching like that if they want to stay in top 5 in the Pac-12.
Okay, so Jose, ASU, they travel to the Sunken Diamond in California this weekend for a matchup in a 3-game set with the Stanford Cardinal. I'll ask you a simple question, Jose. How do you think they fare against the number 2 team in the country?
Not well, Alex. I mean, when you look at this team, I mean, again, they have the best overall record in the Pac-12, Stanford does, and they do something that ASU does not do. They pitch well, 2.82 ERA in the conference right now, and they're pitching phenomenal. ASU cannot pitch right now. They are really struggling in the pitching and in the defensive side, and Stanford, again, 18 fewer errors in defense than ASU does, and that's just the things that are going to put him over the top. I can honestly see a sweep from Stanford.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. As always, Jose, for more of his work and that of the entire baseball coverage team, visit CronkiteSports.com.
While the men on the diamond have struggled, the women have absolutely excelled, ranking as high as number 3 in the latest NCAA RPI rankings. And with that, we bring on our very own WCSN softball analyst, CJ Chairez. And CJ, glad to have you in.
Thanks for having me, Scotty.
Of course, and let's jump right into the discussion. I think I'm just going to ask you the big question that just about everybody is wondering. What has really become of Arizona State's success?
Well, it's hard to pick one thing that contributed to such a successful season this year, Scotty, but I'll do my best, because I think the biggest contributor that's been to the success this season so far has got to be the pitching staff. Now, the rotation in that circle has been phenomenal this year. When you look at whoever steps up, whether it be Rindak, Maha, or Losa, they're going to pitch lights out. But I think the one standout who you cannot forget to mention has got to be sophomore southpaw Giselle Juarez. Now, just looking at her stats alone, she's 17-1 on the season. Her only loss coming in the home opener against ranked Tennessee team. She's throwing .90 ERA, and she has 201 strikeouts, leads the team in all 3 of those categories. So, looking at the big picture, I think it's got to be the pitching staff with Juarez combined with the rest of her rotation. It's good for team morale, and it's really boosting it, and I think that's been one of the key contributors to all the wins that we've seen this season so far.
Definitely G. Juarez coming off a 15-inning performance once again. 15-inning performance this past Sunday. And now looking forward into the later half of the regular season, do you see any possible concerning games for ASU?
I mean, for me, concerning, I think being in the Pac-12 is kind of concerning enough. I mean, it's a juggernaut of a conference. 3 out of the top 5 teams in the nation hail from the Pac. So with the remainder of the schedule comprising primarily of the Pac-12 games, granted a New Mexico State series, it's going to be tough the rest of the season here on out. But they have proven that they can hang with the Pac this year. They've already played number 1 overall Washington, who they've won in the series against, and they still have to face UCLA and Oregon, who are 4 and 5 respectively. But concerning for me, Pac-12, but if you were to ask the girls that, I think they'd say that they're not concerned about anybody coming up on the schedule. They're already, Coach Trisha Ford has preached that you come to the Pac-12 to play against some of the highest competition in college softball. So while I may be concerned and some fans are kind of wary to play some of these top teams and organizations on the schedule, the players are ready, the coaches are ready, and it's going to be a really exciting season, or the remainder of the season going forward.
And so now, talking the remainder of the season, the team is motivated. There's no denying that. So now looking at it, how far do you really see them going for the rest of this year and then also for the next couple of years to come?
As far as this year coming, and the WCWS, they've made it to the tournament 13 consecutive years in a row, but they haven't made it past the regionals since 2013. So I think that's a big goal. A lot of the players, when you asked about this at a media day earlier in the year before the season began, a big goal of theirs was to host the Super Regionals for the first time in nearly 4 or 5 years. I think it's a very probable goal. It's very plausible, and I think it's going to happen this year. The players believe it. The coaches believe in themselves. They've gotten me to believe in them. So I think that hosting a Super Regional is not that far-fetched at all this year. As far as long-term, they made some very key contributions and additions that have contributed to the team this year. And a couple of freshmen that stood out to me are Danielle Gibson and Bella Loomis. Now, Loomis was recruited to primarily play third baseman, but she's seen time at shortstop, at second base. She's even been as far out as outfield. So she's just a Swiss Army knife of a player, and coaches, and she's gotten a lot of praise from her coach Ford, from her own teammates, and they think that she's going to be the face of the franchise come a couple, 2, maybe 3 years from now. And another one that stood out to me would be hitter Danielle Gibson. She has a great bat. She's swinging .413 on the year, and she's got 11 home runs, leads the team in both those categories. So great additions this year. They've been contributing to the team all year long, and I think they're a couple of the standouts from this recruiting class. So the long-term future for this ASU softball team is looking very promising, indeed.
Short term, the Arizona State Sun Devils will host the Oregon Ducks this weekend with first game Friday night at 7 p.m. For one more time, CJ, thanks for joining us in. You can find all of his work at cronkitesports.com. But for now, we're going to send it over to Ryan Redd, who has a special NFL Draft edition of this week's Impact.
Thanks so much, Scotty. And, you know, as the NFL Draft fastly approaches, some Pac-12 schools are dealing with major losses. However, some of these Pac-12 standouts are sure to bring some West Coast flavor to the National Football League. Last year's preseason Heisman favorite Sam Darnold will likely hear his name called early on in the first round on April 26th. Darnold led the Trojans to a conference title in 2017 and averaged more than 300 total yards of offense per game. Just about 13 miles now away from USC's campus, the UCLA Bruins also lost their quarterback in Josh Rosen. Rosen led the Pac-12 in passing last season, finishing second in the nation, and did that even after missing 2 games with injury. He's unbelievable, folks. Now, these California quarterbacks are sure to leave their mark. But on the defensive side of the ball, so is Harrison Phillips out of Stanford. Phillips was the key to the Cardinals' defense last season, finishing with 16.5 tackles for loss and 102 total tackles. That was the most by any defensive lineman in the nation last year. He has come a long way since tearing his ACL in 2015 and looks to go in the first round later this month. That's all for this week on Impact. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show, and I know it's Scotty and I's favorite part as well. The way it is, Scotty and I will ask each other 3 questions, and our producers will get to pick who gets to rant. And Scotty, I want to start with ASU football. The ASU community will get its first chance to watch Herm Edwards' squad duke it out this Friday in the annual spring game. Give me your matchup to watch this Friday.
Well, Alex, I think me and along with just about everybody else would love to say Herm with the fans. I think that Herm brings so much energy to the fan base, and I think it'll be a really good thing to see for Arizona State. But really, more technically, I'm going to go with N'Keal Harry and Chase Lucas, both phenomenal players for Arizona State and phenomenal athletes. So I think their competition is going to boost really up everyone, and it should be a great thing to see.
Okay, I'm going to go a little bit out of the box as well. I'm going to say Manny Wilkins versus Blake Barnett. We've talked at length about the culture change in this program, them hiring a new coach, and we've seen in spring practices, Manny Wilkins and Blake Barnett have been getting a lot of reps. Of course, Manny Wilkins taking the first team reps at the moment, but I don't think it's out of the question to think that there could be a quarterback battle brewing in Tempe.
Yep, always good to have one or more phenomenal quarterbacks, and that's what Arizona State has. But let's jump into now from football to baseball. We've been talking about it today. Arizona State's traveling up to Palo Alto to play Stanford for a 3-game series. Stanford's the number 2 ranked team in the country, so I'm just going to ask you, do they win 1 game?
Okay, Scotty, I'm going to give you a 4-word answer.
I'm very excited.
Optimistically, yes. Realistically, No.
I like it. I think most Arizona State fans are trying so hard to be optimistic, but I think the clock is ticking, and Stanford might be a bit of a too tall of a mountain to climb. So I'm going to say no wins either.
Okay, so moving from a team that's not doing so well to a team that is doing well, with the success of ASU softball shooting the Devils up to number 7 in the latest RPI rankings, and a big series looming against number 3 Oregon this weekend. I'll ask you a similar question, Scotty. How do you think they fare against the Ducks?
All right, well, you gave me 4 words. I'm going to have a little bit of fun here and go with 1 letter, and that, Alex, is G. G. Juarez is going to give Arizona State, the Arizona State Sun Devils, W's. G for W. That's my answer. I rest my case.
All right, when you look at the number 1 team in the country, Scotty, do you know who it is? The Washington Huskies.
Thank you.
They have 2 losses the entire season. Both of these losses
The Washington Huskies, I like it. Yeah.
are to the Arizona State Sun Devils. I like the purple as well. They're to the Arizona State Sun Devils. So when you look at any team in the country that could beat a top 5 opponent, I think it's very fair to think the Arizona State Sun Devils could be the team to take 2 of 3 or even looking for the sweep.
All right, and so it's that time. We're going to wait for our producers to pick today's winner of The Way It Is. Come on, everybody. Hey-o! Scotty won.
You, man.
All right, well, when Herm Edwards was hired in December of 2017, both he and Ray Anderson fell under major scrutiny. His hiring was peculiar. Why sign someone who hasn't coached college since 1989 and hasn't coached at all since 2008? A confusing decision, yes, but for the first time in a long while, the Sun Devils are starting to grab some attention. Herm's decision to open practices to the media and public has given the team a new identity. His signings of Danny Gonzalez, Kevin Moe, and Antonio Pierce to the coaching staff have already proven to bring a fire to the defensive unit. The business-like approach that Herm has brought into the desert, paired with his announcement that he has absolutely no problem in cutting scholarship players, has taken on a new competitive spirit. While Sun Devil Stadium is going under major renovations to improve the game day atmosphere, maybe the Sun Devils are as well. And that is the way it is.
All right, moving on to some top plays now. We'll start on the baseball diamond. I think you know what's coming here, Scotty. Spencer
I think we all do.
Torkelson, the freshman sensation, is going to be at the plate, and you definitely know what's coming next. A torque bomb to deep right center field. That was number 14 for him on the season. He now has 16, and that is leading the nation right now in the NCAA. Look at that swing. Beautiful stroke from the freshman.
Definitely a shining star for the Arizona State baseball team so far this year. But let's move from one diamond to the other. Miss G. Juarez, her first no-hitter as a Sun Devil, 7 innings, no hits allowed. G. Juarez, a tip of the cap to you. Absolutely incredible. No hits against BYU.
For number 1, we're going to stay at Farrington Stadium. Here it is, Kendra Hackbarth. Her first career home run to right center field right there also happens to be a grand slam, Scotty. Beautiful stroke right there from Kendra Hackbarth, who's been helping pace this dominant ASU offense all season. Look at it there on the replay once again. Some great camera work there from our softball coverage team. And I got to say, Scotty, you look at those unis right there, the camo, looking fresh.
It is. I like the camo. It's a phenomenal look, Alex. Phenomenal. All right, everyone. Well, that's it for this edition of Cronkite Sports Live. For all of us here at WCSN, I'm Scotty Gange. He's Alex Gaul, and we thank you for joining us.